Hi everyone, Ezra here from Wild Ones Creative. Today I'm doing a really quick alcohol ink tutorial video just to explain to you the basics about alcohol ink and how to use the Pinata brand that we have available on our website. So you can see here that I have my non-porous substrate, so this could be Yupo paper or anything that's not going to absorb ink and flow freely. So I'm using the Pinata brand alcohol ink in Rainforest Green. This is a really nice rich colour and I think it's going to be a great base layer for my piece. I also have some isopropyl alcohol, and this isn't just an ordinary sauce bottle, it just makes it easier for pouring. 99.9% alcohol, so the higher the better for a really clean, nice alcohol ink piece. So the board that I'm working on here is just a piece of ply, and it has a cured layer of white resin that I've put on previously. So I thought today I would just use it for my demonstration. Alcohol inks are highly saturated alcohol-based pigments. They are fast drying and perfect for any non-porous surface like glass, metal and ceramic. Yupo paper is a really popular choice for smaller abstract pieces. It essentially is a polypropylene plastic paper, so it doesn't absorb the ink and lets the ink glide over and create beautiful abstract effects as it dries. I'm showing you a few of the tools that I like to use while creating my alcohol ink art pieces. Little plastic droppers are really handy for sucking up the ink and putting it on your work. Plastic shot glasses for holding different strengths of colour. A straw for blowing the ink around, and isopropyl alcohol for blending. Near the end, I use a heat gun to dry it faster and create that tidal effect. To begin, I pour quite a generous amount of 99.9% isopropyl alcohol onto my surface. My theory here is that the more you add in the beginning, the better. This will help your colour to be able to glide over your surface more freely. Now I have gone in and added this beautiful rich green by Pinata. This colour is Rainforest Green and going to be the perfect base colour because it's rich and deep. Since I have already added the isopropyl alcohol down before the ink, it now has a nice surface to glide over and push that colour to the edges. In my workshops, I provide paper straws for my students to direct their breath over the ink, but I prefer to do short, sharp breaths directed in specific areas to manipulate the ink. My personal preference is to always work in negative space. I really like there to be white or light areas at my edge, and I like my ink to blend out to be really light and airy on those edges, so I'm always trying to blow and manipulate my ink to encourage it into the centre so that my edges are left really light and airy. I'm going to leave you now just to watch my process. As you'll see, I repetitively add alcohol, then alcohol inks in a layer so that I'm constantly working different areas of my artwork. Sometimes I like to just stand back and look at the piece and watch how it's drying. This abstract art is kind of really different to what I normally do, and I'm so used to rushing my pieces when I'm working with resin, so it's actually nice to sit back and sometimes just watch everything come together and then pick out areas that I feel that I need to sort of like work on a bit more. Like there's this little area down here that had a little bit of a drip, so I decided that I was going to cover that up with a bit more green. So you can just keep adding depth and layering, and you can start building some really nice details. So I decided that my piece was starting to look a wee bit flat just with the one tone of green, so I've gone in and added teal blue by Pinata. So I'm just adding it to areas that I feel like need that bit more depth and tone of colour. So I'm just sort of layering between alcohol and the ink to build up that nice base layer. So once I'm happy with the composition of my piece and the depth of the colour in certain areas, I do like to go over with my heat gun just to dry it off a bit faster and encourage what I call the tidal detail, which is sort of pushing the ink back and forth over itself to create sort of like the same effect when the ocean washes up on the sand back and forth as the tide's coming in and out. So I like to blow all the inks from the outside into the middle and encourage it into the center, so that majority of my depth is in the center and on the outside is nice and light. Now that I'm happy how things are drying, I like to move my heat gun around in circular motions. This creates what I talked about earlier, which was the gradient effect or the tidal effect, which is a really awesome detail. Kind of encourages areas to dry faster than others and almost creates like a lined gradient, which I think is a really beautiful detail. In this little spray bottle here, I've just put a small amount of isopropyl alcohol, and sometimes you can have areas on your piece that are a bit flat or not enough detail, and you just want to add a little bit something more. So I find putting some in a spray bottle and just holding it from a height and spraying a really fine mist can create almost like a starry effect. So you want to hold it about 30 to 40 centimeters from a height and see how it just creates that really pretty dotted starry sort of galaxy effect. And I just think it really lifts pieces that may be flat in some areas. Now, I'm not really liking this edge here, and the thing about alcohol inks is that you can reactivate the pigment. Even when they're dry, you can just add more alcohol to refresh the pigment, and you can easily rework an area. So I'm going over with alcohol here and just moving my heat gun in and out to activate the pigment again. And I'll just fix this area here and maybe a bit in the center as well. So here's a bit of a flyover of the final piece and a nice close-up of that gradient or tidal effect that I was doing with the heat gun, creating those circular motions. It creates such texture and depth to a piece, so I really love that effect. Now, if you would like to create an art piece of your own, head over to wildonescreative.co.nz and head to our pigment section, and you can find all of our pinata inks available online. So thanks for coming and watching my video.